Bulavinaka, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susanna Suisuiki. Coming up.
This is a very frustrating situation for us because we're seeing things that are happening.
Mystery still surrounds Tonga's key ministries. Also,
to even take part with First Global, and we've learned so many things.
The Cook Islands celebrates its winning robotics team, and later on, a new bilingual book explores Fijian culture and identity. Tonga's Crown Prince Tupouto'a Ulukalala's presence with the Tongan delegation at last week's South Pacific Defence Ministers meeting in Auckland has further fueled concerns over a ministerial row. Tonga's Palace Office let it be known early this year that the cabinet posts of Defence and Foreign Affairs were for King Tupou VI to appoint, not Prime Minister Huakavemi Liku Siausi Sovaleni. There were resignations from the cabinet, but there have been no statements since. Don Wiseman spoke with our Tongan correspondent Kalafi Moala to try and find out what is going on.
Just who is filling these roles seems to have been going on for some time, but at the Defence Ministers' conference in Auckland last week, the Crown Prince was there. Does that make him now the Defence Minister? Has that been formalised?
Well, it has not been announced or at least formalized, but he's the one that's functioning as a foreign minister.
As a foreign minister or a defence minister?
Well, the word that I get here is that a foreign minister, but you notice that the man who accompanied him, Fia Lakepa, who is the commander of the defense force, was with him. The way it looks is that the Crown Prince is the foreign minister and Fia Lakepa is being groomed to be the defense minister.
Do you think the palace has got to come clear with the public and tell them just what's going on?
This is a very frustrating situation for us because we're seeing things that are happening. You're asking questions to the palace office as well as to the Prime Minister's office, and nobody is talking.
There were no issues during the Pacific Islands Forum back in August. Everything seemed to be hunky-dory then, and that was very much headed by the Prime Minister, wasn't it?
Yes, but I wouldn't say that things were hunky-dory. The fact that the king was absent, was out of town, was a very loud message that says, I'm not here to share any kind of leadership with anybody else. I mean, he was indicating his displeasure. He didn't want to participate in a situation where the Prime Minister was definitely the leader. So that's the message that we got at the Pacific Forum here. And of course, the Crown Prince was the one that opened the forum. So it's a very strange situation.
What does it do to Huakavemi Liku's government, having this sort of undermining effect, I guess?
Well, the interesting thing is that it seems like Huakavemi Liku is, as the Prime Minister, is more active than ever. I mean, he's going on trips, he's making arrangements with in terms of partnership with Tonga, with foreign countries. He seems to be able to get help in terms of donor money for projects here in Tonga. So it doesn't do anything in terms of what we're watching him doing and performing. It makes the public ask a lot of questions. Well, what's happening? Clearly, there is a very strained relationship between the king and the prime minister. Nobody can doubt that. But we're waiting for word from either the prime minister's office or the palace office. The prime minister at one press conference was basically asked, and he just stopped. He did not respond. He said, "I'm not gonna answer that."
This was the matter, or at least one of the issues that undid Akalisi Pohiva's government, isn't it? Could the same happen again?
I doubt it. With Akalisi Pohiva, of course, what the king did then was dissolve parliament and held new elections. But I doubt if it's going to happen for this government, because when you look back in the last several years, this government is a very popular government. The perception that we get in public is here is a government that's doing something, especially not just in Tonga, but it seems like the Prime Minister is becoming very prominent regionally. He not only led the Pacific Forum here, he's going to meetings where he's speaking and he's being respected. He was at the United Nations recently speaking there. And so it doesn't look like his government is weakening in any way. But the palace office does look like it's weakening because you've got the secretary there is taking the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to court. They're trying to argue that he's the rightful appointee to be the foreign secretary. And so there's all of this going on.
The Coco Bots and all-girls robotics team from the Cook Islands were given a hero's welcome in Tonga over the weekend. The 5 girls were gold medal winners in the Alliance category of the first Global Robotics Challenge in Athens, Greece, teaming up with counterparts from China, Moldova and Madagascar. The 4-day event was attended by students from 193 nations, engaging in competition, teamwork and cultural exchange. Tiana Hexton caught up with the team at the welcoming home ceremony, which was attended by the Prime Minister, community members, as well as family and friends.
Kia ora, my name is Eva Sosene.
Kia ora, my name is Elena Araya.
Kia ora, my name is Timiora Vogel.
And kia ora, I'm Ruben Newport.
You represented the Cook Islands and have now come home with the gold medal. How does that feel?
It feels really, really great, especially because we came from a small country.
We're really thankful to even take part with First Global, and we've learned so many things.
Yeah, and tell us a bit about the competition itself. What did you have to do?
Well, we had to do a lot of building and a lot of redesigning, rebuilding, rinse and repeat. Then when we got to the competition, we had to do all the touch-ups, building it, rebuilding it, because we had to dismantle when taking it over. So putting it back together. Then we also had to discuss with all the teams on the match so that we can all do our jobs and to all gain points.
I understand it was a big team effort for the final. How did that go?
That was amazing. It was a lot of adrenaline on the afterwards, but we're really proud of ourselves for even being.
And so for the final, which countries were you teamed up with?
For the final, we were with Team China, Team Madagascar, and Team Moldova.
And what was that like, working with teams from such big tech countries, especially compared to the Cook Islands?
Yeah, at first it was intimidating because they were big countries, and we came from such a small country. I didn't want to really, I thought that they were kind of better than us in a way, but when I got to speak to them and we were communicating, all of us as a team, it was, you realize how much the same we are, how much we have in common, and it kind of eased down the nerves, and I actually felt I could communicate to them real well, and they were much help, and they were great countries, yeah.
Now this question is for each of you. How has this experience inspired you to keep going in STEM?
You really realize how much people are interested like you. Because robotics, I think, is a really niche subject. So seeing many countries, many people also be interested, it's very comforting. It's really nice. It's a good feeling, yeah.
From my personal experience, I think the collaboration with teams and all, that's really kept me going, because that's probably the one thing I most enjoy. And being with First Global, they really push for that. So
for me, it was amazing to see how many different type of robots the countries would make. It's the same problem, but there's different ways to solve it. And that was just so great to see, because you see different ideas and you get more ideas and you learn new things. Yeah.
A big thing for me was basically all of us have kind of said, getting to know other teams, especially from around the world. And it was a pretty cool experience as well, because there was a whole bunch of other people out there that like STEM as well.
And my last question, of course, What was that moment like when you found out you were gold medalists?
Well, me and Kimmy, we were watching from the stands, and it was funny because we were with Team Slovakia. We're very, very close friends with them now, and we were with them cheering on our team. And they said, "Oh my gosh, guys, you won!" And we're like, "Oh my gosh, we won!" It's like, yeah. So we had to like full on sprint to the stage. It was so fun, but yeah, it was pretty mind blowing.
When it sunk in, we were like, oh my gosh. Like, I think all the feelings from before the game, during the game, and then after the game, it's all just overwhelmingly mixed together. So, yeah, it was an amazing feeling though.
Despite Fiji being one of the largest Pacific Island nations, there's seemingly a lack of good books about the country in print. The fourth volume in the Moana Oceania series aims to address that situation with a colourful publication written in English and Fijian. Written by Fiji and New Zealand educator Dr. Tarisi Vunindilo, it's an introduction into the people, history and identity of her homeland. I spoke with Dr. Vunindilo about her book and the importance of preserving the Fijian language and cultures.
Yes, I was, really privileged to be approached by Peter Darling and the team at, Oratia Books in Auckland to help write the Moana series for Fiji. And anything to do with children's books or anything to do with Fiji, that's something that I have feel the privilege to contribute to writing something for our younger learners and about Fiji. So this book is really special because not only I was writing things about Fiji, but it's also bilingual. And it's written in the Vosavakaviti or Vosavakambao, the Fijian language of Fiji. So that makes this book very special because it has both languages. But also, it pushed me out of my comfort zone to, write in English and translate as well into Fijian.
Now, before we talk more about your book, I was just wondering, whereabout in Fiji do you hail from?
I'm originally from the province of Kadamu on the south of Fiji. My dad comes from the village of Natokalau, district of Yahweh, and my mom is also from the same island, from Kadamu, from the village of Nukunuku, and the district of Tavuki. And these two districts are side by side, and I'm very, very, very privileged to come from the beautiful island of Kadamu.
You've dedicated your career to preserving and promoting the Fijian culture and language. Was this always something that you've wanted to do?
I've always wanted to, be a teacher. I remember growing up, when we're young, a lot of, adults often ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was just sharing it today with one of my students because they asked me, how I became, a professor today. But I, went back so many years ago when I heard about the story of my late grandfather, my mom's dad, who passed away when my mom was 2 months old. So my mom didn't know much about my dad, but my grandfather, didn't know much about her dad. But my grandfather was actually a school principal in the early 1900s. So for him to be, a teacher in the colonial days was like, a huge achievement. And so for me personally, I made it my mission, to be in the space of teaching. Little did I know that the language and culture of Fiji was going to be included in that journey. So it really makes my journey, quite fun and educational at the same time. That because I love things about Fiji. I've always very passionate about things that are very old, which is to the detriment of me having friends because younger kids at the time, they want to play with dolls and stuff like that. But I'm actually outside, climbing trees and studying rocks and doing things in the water, things that kids don't do on a daily basis. But I really thank my parents for allowing me to explore the world. So at the same time, making me appreciate who I am as a Itoke woman, but also using my platform on so many levels to share about Fiji's cultural and natural heritage.
How long has this book been in the making? When did you start brainstorming ideas to bring this book to life?
Yeah, we started, I think it was early this year, maybe around April or maybe earlier, when I was approached by Peter. For me, as I said earlier, anything with Fiji or anything with children or anything with books, I always say yes, even though I have quite a lot of things on my plate. But for me, I believe that if I focus in getting that done, then I leave kind of like a legacy behind, yeah. So it was quite a number of months, and also early this year I was traveling a lot. I was in Europe, and I been to Fiji and here traveling within the US. But in between, I was trying to complete the work and thanking Carolyn, and Peter, for being very patient with me, given the load that I had, but making sure that I complete the work at hand. But a few months of work and research.
What are your thoughts on the struggles that Indo-Fijians face? Because, they've come out wanting to be recognized as Pacific, and a number of them want Fiji Hindi to be celebrated more when it comes to Fiji Language Week. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Fiji is quite a unique country. It's a very cosmopolitan country because we don't have only the indigenous Itoke. We also have the Fiji Indians, and we also have the part Europeans. We have the Chinese, and then we also have the islanders because we have Tuvaluans. We have Rambians from the island of Banaba. We also have Tongans and Samoans, and Fiji is such a beautiful mix of all these cultures. And I think for that struggle for recognition, I think they have every right to feel that way, because of our colonial history and also because of our population. They are kind of like a 50-50, population in Fiji. So they have a big number of them, and many of them were also born. So they are like, what, second generation, third generation Fijian? So if you tell them to go to India, they have no idea which part of India that they're from. But if you tell them which part of Fiji they're from, they'll say exactly, where their family are based. So to me, I know it can be, politicized on so many levels, but I'm always proud of them because they've contributed so much to Fiji. What Fiji looks like now is through the sweat and the blood of the Indians that came over from 1879. So I believe that, recognizing them too, because they have created a Fiji Hindi language, or Creole, which is kind of, unique to them. Because if they speak the Hindi from India, the people in India will say, oh, we don't understand what they're saying. So that means that they have actually created a unique language that can only be spoken in Fiji. So for me, in the future, I think that they should be recognized.
Somewhere down the line, will you perhaps explore Fiji's colonial history? Would you be able to put that into a publication?
Absolutely, absolutely. Even writing things about Fiji, we will never, shy away from that part of Fiji. Even going to school myself in Fiji, the colonial history was very much part of the curriculum. So we were taught, from when the first missionaries came in 1835. Even we were not taught maybe the two Tahitians that came in 1830, but only were told when the two missionaries, Reverend David Cargill and William Cross, came in 1835, 5 years later. So to me, there's the colonial history that can be written, because we need to include all these cultures, that has called Fiji their home, which also include the island of Rotuma. Let's not forget them, because Great Britain, ceded them in 1881 and passed them on to Fiji. So now the good thing about Rotuma, they have their own Rotuman language week, which makes me feel that the Fiji Hindi should also be recognized.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā sui fua.